right, this is going to be the answers for the Among Us review game that you guys were given to prepare for your metabolism unit test. So I'm kind of skipping through right now the slides where you can make your crewmate. So I'm going to kind of go over each question and give you the answer so that you can check your answers to make sure you are prepared for the test. Because it's one thing to do the review, but you want to make sure you got the right answers. And if you did well on this review, you should have no problem with that test. So, first question. An athlete thinks that she can exercise as long as she eats different types of food because her body just needs different types of food molecules to work properly. Is the athlete correct? And the answer was no. So, this bottom left corner right here, no. All cells need molecules from food and molecules from air. That's super important. You need food and air to function. Next question. Marisol has been chewing and swallowing her food, but her digestive system is not doing what it usually does. Why is this a problem for her ability to exercise? And so I kind of covered it a little bit over here. Oops. The idea is that her cells aren't going to work well because her digestive system is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So it's probably not breaking down her food enough to be small enough to get into her cells. Next question. So doctors tested a patient to find out what molecules were in her cells. Her cells contain normal levels of amino acids, normal levels of oxygen, and low levels of glucose. Will this patient be able to exercise normally? No, because they need glucose, a normal level of glucose, to be able to react with oxygen to make that energy. Remember, they need oxygen and glucose to react, and we call that cellular respiration. All right, an ocean scientist plans to spend several days underwater in a submarine. Doctors on land will monitor her body to make sure she is healthy during her trip. What is one way doctors will be able to tell whether her body is healthy enough to do all her tasks while she is in the submarine? So, the doctors could see if her cells are getting the molecules they need from food and air. A patient has been eating healthy foods, but his digestive system is not doing what it usually does. Can this patient still exercise normally? No, because those food molecules need to be broken down small enough to get inside the cells and be used to function properly. If a person is breathing normally, which of the following could prevent him from using his body to exercise normally? So, not getting enough food, because remember, food plus oxygen equals energy. And so if they're not eating enough food, then they're not getting part of that little equation we need to be able to have that energy. So Raul ate a meal of oats before seeing his doctor. Oats are made of mostly starch molecules. Raul feels tired, so his doctor gave him a test and found out that Raul's cells contain glucose molecules, but they did not contain enough oxygen. Does this explain why Raul feels tired? Yes, because breaking down those starch molecules will give him the glucose that he needs, but his respiratory system is not working properly because he's not getting enough oxygen. And doctors tested a patient to find out what molecules were in his cells. His cells contain normal levels of glucose and amino acids and low levels of oxygen. Will this patient be able to exercise normally? And no, because the respiratory system is not working and we need oxygen to be able to react with glucose to release that energy. And then Rico, a scuba diver, uses breathing gear to help him breathe air underwater. He always gets enough sleep and eats a good breakfast before a dive. What could happen if his breathing gear broke during a dive and he could not breathe as much air as usual? So it would be difficult to swim because his cells cannot work without molecules from the air. Remember, food plus oxygen is our winning combination. And two teams of scientists hiked 10 kilometers to different study sites. Before their hike, the valley team ate a lunch of mostly protein. The mountain team ate a lunch of a mix of starch and protein, but hiked at a high altitude where there is much less oxygen. Which team probably had an easier time hiking? Gonna be honest, not a huge fan of this question, but the best answer, because it's kind of confusing, because the idea that they're trying to get you to think about, and they will bring this up on the test, is that if you are in a high altitude, which is kind of high up, like on a mountain or something, the higher you go with your altitude, the less oxygen is there. So it's usually a little bit harder to breathe. You have a harder time working out. And so they're trying to get you to get the idea of combining the food and the oxygen. And so I thought the best answer, like I said, it's not the best question, but I think the best answer would be the mountain team had an easier time hiking because their cells release energy from protein, reacting with the glucose, which is broken down in the digestive system. Like I said, really don't like this question. That's not even really a good answer. None of these really hit exactly what I wanted it to hit, but as long as you get the idea, and don't forget, we need oxygen and glucose. And remember, starch turns into glucose, and then amino acids turn into protein. All right, that is it. Do not forget that in your module, I put a little kind of study cheat sheet in there with some more of the key points that you need to know. As long as you kind of know that cheat sheet and understand that, you should be good to go for our metabolism unit test this week.